Welcome, readers, to another episode of the Bougie Book Pod. I am Tara.
I'm Kira.
And we are just two girls who love to read and yap about it. And so one day we decided, why don't we take that yapping and turn it into a podcast and see what happens? And so here we are, and here you are, I hope. And if you are, thank you for joining. Today we are back in the world of Sarah J. Maas with the ACOTAR series. And we are going over A Court of Frost and Starlight.
The little guy.
Yeah, the little baby. I read it on my iPad, and so I didn't realize until I just saw that right now. Like, that is a little baby.
Yeah, I honestly...
She's a little one.
If you have been following us and you read ACOTAR and you don't even know what book this is, that makes sense. Because it is the little... Like, you know, like some series, they call it, I don't know if you've ever seen it on like Goodreads, it's like the 1.5 book.
Yeah,
like,
well,
this is
I was
the
just going to say,
book.
So I bought it through Amazon Kindle or whatever, and it says 3.5.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's 4? I was just trying to like think, like, where's the next one? Is there a half one after that?
It's so funny when they do that, but it's true. It's
a very different book from the rest. A lot of people are calling it a novella.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't much action unless you count the sex, and there is plenty of that. But it's like I was saying earlier today, it feels more like a palate cleanser after a lot of the craziness that's happened. And like a little tiny reprieve for these characters that we've come to love. And there's a moment of, I guess, just winding down almost, or figuring out what's next for them. So you were telling me it was almost like a little holiday.
I always compare it to a Christmas episode. Like, you watch Friends and they have the Christmas episode, you know, Abbott Elementary, whatever you watch nowadays, they have the Christmas. This is what it feels like. It feels like a Christmas episode.
Yeah, and it's what is their holiday?
Winter Solstice.
Winter Solstice, and they're talking about like exchanging gifts and decorations and the weather and the snow, and it's a very Christmassy feel. I kind of wish I had been reading it during Christmas break, but it was just right after. That's okay.
I read it in the summer. It was like complete opposite.
I was just like a couple weeks after Christmas, so not too bad. But I was like, oh, this would have been nice while I was home.
Yeah.
But so instead of like going over a point by point summary like we usually do and spoil everything, we're just gonna chat about or yap about our ideas and impressions and overall thoughts, because it is such a little slice of a pie.
And it's not a complicated plot in this one. It's
not even really a plot per se.
No, I couldn't even put the order of event. Like, I could not put them in order.
No, honestly. It's more like a peek into their lives as if they were real people. Like, oh, this is what our characters are doing now.
Yeah.
Which, now that I think about it, would be kind of nice if a lot of other authors did that. Like, I'm thinking like Harry Potter series. Like, what are they up to today?
And I can see, especially like at the end of a series.
Yeah, just kind of a little update of how they're doing, what they're going through.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. This one, your first question is, how does it compare to the main ACOTAR series? It's just so different. And honestly, I don't know if this is a question, so I'm reading it. I want to know the motivation behind this. Does that make sense? Like, I understand we just had the war and, you know, but instead of giving us maybe an epilogue in the last book, why was it a publisher thing? Was it a Sarah thing?
I wonder about that too. There's like a side of me that is like skeptical and thinking like this is just like a little throwaway thing. The publishers were like, they need more and we need it faster. Then another part of me is like, because the next book goes away from Feyre and Rhysand in their point of view, like maybe this is like our last little journey into what's going on in their minds and their hearts, and kind of like, I think it's actually a good way to end their story. Not that their story's over, but for the readers, like for their inside look, this is a good way to end it, so that when we come back into that world, we're starting with a new point of view.
I agree. And it's interesting because, so I've only read the Throne of Glass series, which I know you haven't. There is a book in that series, just comparing her other series. They call it a prequel book, but it is composed of multiple novellas that the stories and these people that are introduced are in the series.
Okay.
So you don't get to the end and you're like, wait, WTF, why are they here? Or like, I don't understand this reference. Like, does that make sense? It's very woven. Yes, it is a world building book. So that's what's interesting is like,
well, we are introduced to a couple new people here.
We are.
I do wonder if they pop up at any point or will in the very last book that's coming. But it doesn't feel like world building. It feels like she's wrapping some things up, and we get a chance to maybe say goodbye to some people or their inside thoughts anyway. Did it meet your expectations, or did it feel more like a filler? This is kind of like what we were just talking about.
So mine is interesting because my ACOTAR journey was reading ACOTAR itself, Mist and Fury, and Wings and Ruin. I don't know what year. I want to say 2020, 2021. I don't know. You're going to have to look up like publishing or whatever. I read the 3 of them, boom, boom, boom. After that, I believe this may have been out. And then very shortly after I finished those, Silver Flames came out.
Okay.
But I hate hardcovers and I hate reading online. So I wouldn't buy. It took Silver Flames so long to go to paperback.
Do we know why this is? Why does every book come out hardcover and then you have to wait so long for paperback?
So I will literally Google it. Like,
if there's someone's screaming right now at us.
I know if there's a book I want to read and I like will Google when does it come out on paperback. It like there's an average time, but it's up to like the publisher where. So like Fourth Wing, for example. Fourth Wing, Iron Flame both came out before Fourth Wing itself was even in paperback.
Wow.
Iron Flame, so the 3rd book is out in paperback. Iron Flame in the US is not out on paperback. I flippin' ordered that thing from Britain to get in paperback. Free shipping too. Shout out Blackwell's.
Oh, yes.
Like, I don't understand. I don't understand the process of when they decide to release a paperback. Is it like, oh, we're still hitting because it's hardcover is more expensive. So is it a publisher thing of like, we're getting more money still off the hardcover? Moral of the story is, let me just come back off my hardcover thing.
Give us paperback.
I had gone so long away from this series. This summer, my mom and I were traveling to Sweden, and I was at Barnes & Noble, I think, and I was like, I'm going to buy this because I think this will be a good way for me to get back. Just read it, see if I want to continue and do Silver Flames because it's now in paperback. And so that's when I read it. So it was broken up so far.
Gotcha.
So I read this, then I read Silver Flames, and then this like Thanksgiving, Christmas, I reread the first 3 again. So it's really it's not a very good journey.
This is a very scattered journey you're on.
For me. So I don't think it was necessary. It did help me get back into their world. Because of my journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I were to read them boom, boom, boom in a row, I don't think this is crucial. I think it is a filler.
Yeah, I could see that. For me, I think because I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
This confused me a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because everything was happy and kind of sweet. And but at the same time, like, we'll probably talk about it, but like Reeson, he seems kind of also like me, waiting for the other shoe to drop and nervous about something coming. And so the whole book, I was like, is this book going to come to the very last page and then boom, something's going to happen? And it didn't, by the way, kind of. And so I left kind of going, okay, what was this about?
Like, it doesn't push you to read the next book. And you would think that's how she works with her books. Like, it's going to push you to read the next one. And you're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I'm just like, what was that? Now, not to say that I didn't enjoy parts of it or like have a little fun with it. But initially, I think I was just, because everything has been so leading up to a war or leading up to this, or there's some mysterious thing here. We have a theory about this. And so I kept wondering, okay, what's the payoff? What am I going to get here? And it really only is after having some time away from the book, when I really think about it. And when you told me now I'm going to be in Nesta's perspective, I'm like, oh, okay, this was like a goodbye almost. So I guess it really depends on where you are in your reading journey, or how soon or how far away you are from this book, about if it met your expectations. I would assume that if I had been waiting for the book to come out, I don't think it would have met my expectation. I would have been disappointed. But knowing that I have the next book already lined up, I'm okay.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And I think that's how I felt. And like your next question with like the tone shift from how intense ACOWAR was to this, because of mine was broken up, I almost needed this to remind me, okay, where are we like mentally, like what happened? So like I was okay with the tone shift, but I think I would have had a problem going in a row.
Yeah, I think the tone shift is what confused me because I was waiting like, well, this can't last. Yeah. So for those of you, hopefully you have read it. I don't know why you would be listening to us if you haven't.
Yeah.
But the tone does shift because it's just them kind of settling in life after war. And there's a lot of, I wouldn't say that it's all happy because there's a lot of them just trying to figure out what do we do with this life now, or like the peace that they have seems very tenuous, very like shaky. And so there are a lot of things that are still up in the air, but they're all still very grateful that they have each other and they made it through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we go from like this intense to just like having a wine, watching the snow fall outside the windows. It's just very like, it was a little discombobulating.
It is.
But it was nice to see them having some peace.
Yeah. Moving on to the characters. What do you think about Feyre in this?
There are moments where I wasn't a fan of her.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to see that not just me. How do I? So she's like in this place where I don't know. She's feeling. It almost comes off like she's feeling not embarrassed, but like she doesn't know how to handle this privilege that she has now. And she so desperately wants to like give back and do something. Now, lucky for her, she's with Rhysand and it's not Tamlin. And so he gives her all the space and time and, you know, freedom that she has to figure out what it is that she needs to do to be happy. But there's something about it that irks me a little bit, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Like, not to say that she's not genuine about it, and it's not a good thing that she wants to give back, but I almost feel like, just give back. You have the capability.
It was a lot of like, you can wake up and just do it. So do it. Why are you going in circles?
She goes round and round. Yes. So she finds this.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it, and then
like there's this area of town where like most of the artists live, and it seems kind of ramshackle. And I'm thinking, just go in and refurbish it. She can. She has the money, and Rhysand like will always say yes to her. But she kind of just goes around and around about it, and she's so like tortured about getting back to her painting and her art, which has always been what's helped her. So I had a hard time understanding her resistance to that and why that took so long.
I agree. We'll talk about Feyre in the next book too, but like it was just kind of like, write a check, just wake up and do it.
And
if you want to make a foundation and make things perfect, take the time to do it, but just do something now and be done with it.
Just stop bitching about it.
I know, that's how I felt too.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't alone because I was like, people are gonna hate that.
No, but everyone has. You go through this full journey, and 9 times out of 10, people like have you have a shift with multiple characters, and I think she is one that eventually it's kind of like
I'm ready to step away from her for a while, to be honest. And then in this book, we get a lot of Rhysand's perspective. What did you think of that?
I don't know. I always think I like when there is the male perspective. His is very interesting though. Like, I don't hate it, I don't love it. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't necessarily need it. And if you were to ask me more about him, just this and not adding silver flames with it, I think it would be easier to answer. But I'm
not gonna lie, I kind of almost prefer him a little more mysterious and not knowing everything that he's thinking about.
Yeah.
He worries too much, I feel.
And it's like, he's got a lot on his shoulders, but I needed him to have that moment of like, it can be done tomorrow. Unlike Feyre. Feyre, I need you to do it today. I need you to stop.
Having the complete opposite problem.
I need you to stop. And like, Rhysand, I need you to wait and just do it another day.
He can't take a moment to enjoy that they made it through.
Yeah.
And he's constantly thinking about that. But I mean, he is the High Lord. He is in charge of all these people. So I guess we need to be fair to that. We are just lowly people.
Whatever.
Who are we? And then Nesta and Cassian. And there is tension. Here's my question. Are they mates?
You're gonna find out soon. You're on the next book.
I know.
Nesta and Cassian.
I think Cassian knows. That's my prediction. That's the way I feel it right now. That's the way I see it. But Nesta, what a bitch. She is so resistant to it. And in this book, okay, so I'm not talking about Silver Flames, but in this book, she annoys...
Oh, you despise her in this book.
Excuse my friend. She annoys the fuck out of me.
She's terrible.
Everybody is holding out their hand to her. Everybody is understanding. Everybody says, come, we want you here. We know you're crabby, but we want you anyway. Yeah. And Cassian, it's very obvious that he cares about her. And she just pushes and pushes and pushes away. And I don't think this book really sets up their journey. It just makes me have a lot of questions about what's going to happen between them, if anything will happen between them. But it really does make me frustrated with her.
What I can't grapple with, so many things. Like, one, Nesta is so messed up by her father coming back and the death of her father.
Yeah.
And it is like, girlfriend, when you guys were in that shack way back when, you didn't give a shit.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot here, but here's my other thing. They have a lingerie store in this place. They have all this technology in this place. They've got to have therapists.
You know, I never thought about that.
They need to go to group therapy. They need to do individual therapy. They need to go to group therapy. Everyone needs to freaking go to therapy.
Yeah, if we were in this world, we could open up a Fae therapy practice and we would make a buku. But maybe that's not their way. They all like to hold it in, I guess.
I just can't.
But that's kind of interesting that you bring that up, because I know some people in my own life who had pretty similar relationships with their father, and then once their father passed, it's been like he was the best man ever, and we're all like, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think that comes from guilt, and I think there's a lot of guilt there because the way he showed up on the boat or the ship named after her, and the fact that he said that I've loved you since the moment I held you.
Yeah.
She never had a connection with him, and I think there's this guilt of, did he care?
Yeah.
Or like, did we miss an opportunity to fix that? And she's just so angry about it.
And that's like everyone in life. It's like too little, too late. You realize what like this, and like I think, and like, just get her a therapist.
Yeah.
But
instead of trying to help her and talk to her, they just leave her to her own devices. And all she does is
she drinks.
She drinks, but she chooses to live in the seediest places in town. Which also, like, I thought this was this wonderful world, and yet they still have like a Fae ghetto, Fae slums.
Dude.
It's just really interesting to me. But that's
it's so funny because I'm so like pissed about Nesta, but then like you talk to me about the end of Silver Flames about Nesta, like I'm gonna feel very different.
Yeah.
But like, oh my god, this whole book, you just want to shake her.
Yeah.
Like
everyone is trying so hard with you, and everyone is like walking on eggshells around her because they don't want to upset her, and they just let her do and act however she wants, and she is just straight up nasty.
And if some man was on his deathbed crawling towards me and said, my only regret is that I didn't have more years with you, Nesta, I'll find you in every world, blah blah blah, whatever the hell Cassian says, I would be acting very different around this man, even if I didn't have feelings.
Well, she clearly had feelings because she was willing to die for him.
Just can't.
And so I was just really shocked that, having made it through that there wasn't, like, if anyone for her to be close with, that she didn't go to him and like pour her heart out, or explain how she was feeling. Like, I can't say this to anybody else, but I feel like I can do. Do you know what I mean? It's clear that he cares about her and that he would be open to that. So yeah, this is a very frustrating character in this book. You don't get any kind of resolution or good feelings from the two of them. In fact, the way their story ends in this story is like he basically had searched and searched for this perfect gift for her, and she doesn't even freaking get it because she says like the nastiest things to him as he's trying to walk her home. He just chucks it into the river or wherever they are, and I'm just
the Sidra.
And I'm just like, damn girl, you have no idea. And but also I'm like, what did he get her?
I know.
We never find out, do we?
No, I think you do in Silver Flames.
Oh, okay, good. Because that's been bothering me.
I think they have that conversation.
It's probably something real fucking sweet.
I think they go back to it.
I didn't mean to curse, but it just gets me mad. Anyway, moving on. Another character.
I mean, honestly, for me, this one, it was Nesta Cassian, Feyre Rhysand, and then you've got like the Azriel, like.
Yeah, we get a little piece of him, which I still don't know about him. I clearly feel like he has a thing for Elaine, but I think he doesn't understand it because he's been in love with Moore for so long.
Yeah.
But Moore explained in the last book that ain't never happening because she swings the other way. But Azriel doesn't know that. But I think Elaine feels it for him too. Poor Lucien. Poor Lucien living with Jurian and Vasa on the island of misfit toys.
I don't know. I like Lucien, but like I'm Team Azriel on that.
Oh, I am too,
side.
Because the way it all happened just went wrong. But it's just, to me, the idea of like this mating thing, and it not working, that must feel like guttural.
Yeah. I also just need Elaine to just get a little bit of a backbone, just a touch. Take like some of Nesta's fieriness and just give it a sprinkle to Elaine.
Yeah, I think that's about all anyone would need is a sprinkle of what Nesta has.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so we get a little bit of Azriel, which I think he's in love with Elaine, and I think she digs him too. I don't think we get any perspective from Amryn. She's just there. She's still very like. She still acts as if she has these powers and everyone is afraid of her. And I think people still are afraid of her because they're not quite sure what she has left in her.
And that's like everyone at this point. Like, they don't know what Nesta is capable of. They don't know about Amryn. Everyone's kind of like...
And that's why I was like waiting, like what's going to happen? Something must blow up this happy time. And then we get a little more of Moore. The Morrigan. And... she makes me sad.
Yeah.
Like, when is something good going to happen for her? Or is she so afraid of being her that she's not allowing herself to find that happiness?
I'm too deep on ACOTAR theory TikTok to accurately answer questions about Moore because... there are too many theories about Moore that just rumble around in my head.
Okay. I think that when I finish Silver Flames, we should set a day to just do theories.
Moore would have her own section.
And maybe by doing that, the gods above, Mother above,
give us our second or last book.
Give us our last book. Maybe
and it better be about Azriel.
Put something into the universe, and it'll come soon. Because I'm not sure how I'm going to feel when this book ends and I don't have the next one. See, I'm kind of greedy because I never had to wait.
Yeah. And I think that's almost why I also reread the series like this.
In the hopes that...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She keeps putting off the dates. But yeah, a whole thing, and Moore has a ton of different theories. So I don't know.
The one thing I will say about Moore is that she is... definitely a strong character, strong female. I just, she's got a lot going. She also needs therapy. Yeah. Very much like Nesta. I see, and it feels like she does not like Nesta. Nobody does really. But I think there's something more to it why she doesn't like Nesta. I think she sees a bit of herself. And I think she also sees how much Cassian cares about her, and she is afraid of Nesta hurting him. But at the very end of this book, she goes off because she's like, what is her title? Emissary?
Emissary? Yeah, emissary.
And so her job is kind of like going into other lands and trying to keep the peace and work between the two of them. But she has this little place in, is it Summer Court? I forget. She's got a place in another court, like a little house, like in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
It's like at the very end.
Yeah.
And she goes there because she likes to ride her horses there.
Yes, and she likes her time.
Yeah, she likes her time feeling like the wind in her hair when on a horse. But there's this part where she senses like this darkness in the woods, and it scares the crap out of her that she ends up turning around and going back, and like it just ends there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that, and does it come back?
So thank you.
Well, of course it doesn't. There's so many things in these, you know what? Okay,
sorry,
I'm getting hot, but I just feel like, has anyone talked to this woman, Sarah J. Maas, and asked her why she throws things in there with no intention of ever bringing them up again?
Which is so wild, because thrown a glass, you could not even like read about a fork and that fork wouldn't come back.
Really?
Like, it's so intense. So this one, it is, you have these moments where you're like, okay. I can't remember. I don't think they talk about it. You didn't know. Don't ask me.
Okay.
Going to some themes and whatnot. The first one, healing after war. How do they cope with the trauma? They don't. That's why they need therapists.
Yeah, they don't cope. If they
Feyre paints, and I don't know if you've ever seen the TikToks about Feyre, and I am guilty of this. I literally picture her being like, and it's a stick figure. Like, they talk about how beautiful it is, and I'm sorry, you can't be a huntress, you can't be beautiful, you can't paint. There's too much. Like,
she can't do everything.
I just picture her paintings as so amateur.
And they're all like, that's great.
So let's see, how do they cope? Feyre paints and finally gets rid of some money. Rhysand is just trying to solve all the problems. Nesta drinks. Cassian's trying to fix Nesta. Asriel just wants Elaine to look at him. Cassian and Feyre end up also drinking and getting drunk, decorating. Is it just the two of them, or is Asriel there?
It's just the two of them, and then I think Asriel comes in later.
Mor goes off to her house.
Yeah, she goes by herself.
Amren, no one knows.
I think Amren's having a good time with Varian.
Oh yeah, she does. She's
enjoying.
That's her outlet.
She's enjoying her body. That's what she's doing.
The rest of it,
Elaine is just gardening. And making cookies with the twin.
They need to talk about it. They can't just garden and paint and drink and.
Yeah, none of them talk about it.
Ugh.
None of them talk about it.
I can't.
But there is a lot of thought of what now.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting because you watch movies or whatever, and there'll be like some big battle or some big traumatic thing, and then like, you know, when they get through it and there's a resolution, you see the end and everyone's together and they're happy or whatever, and you're just kind of like, that easy? So this book kind of, I think, shows you that it's not easy.
Yeah.
Like, they won and they've got things to celebrate, but
you can't just go back to what it was.
Yeah, it's like PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they have. They have PTSD. Like, it's just,
I mean, you think about
they can't just relax.
Feyre came out from under the mountain, like those nightmares and stuff like that. That seems legitimate. That is a natural way to have to cope with all that crap.
Yeah. So they can't just easily fall into this new happier life.
Yeah.
But none of them are coping. And then the winter solstice. It says how, you know, I wonder like how it reflects their bonds and culture. I think it just seems more like a tradition, something to be grateful for, some moment to kind of stop and reflect. But it's interesting that Feyre, coming from the human land, like they don't have that. They don't have religion. They don't have anything that they celebrate. So it's funny that it's kind of foreign to her, and to them, they're like, oh, this is just...
Yeah.
But it seems more not religion-based in terms of like a god above, but more like nature and like the cycle of life, which I thought was kind of interesting. What about like romantic and friendship moments? There were some romantic things. So what did you think?
Because Feyre and Rhysand, I love them. I'm okay. I was okay partying with them.
Mm-hmm.
So like their moments were just like been there, done that.
Yeah.
It did feel a bit repetitive with them.
Yeah.
And like have Asriel touch Elaine's wrist, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like, give me more. But like Rhysand and Feyre, I'm like, they're literally describing these things. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Keep going. But I don't know. So for me, it was like certain like scenes were a little repetitive with that because, you know, to answer my favorite character interactions, it was like I was hoping something was going to progress, whether it was Nesta and Cassian, Asriel and Elaine, like every time something was happening, I was like, oh,
yeah,
is this going to be the breakthrough? Is this going to be the moment?
And I think that's because we already know Feyre and Rhysand, like they got it. They're good.
Yep.
And and so I was kind of like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
What else is going to happen? But also about Feyre and Rhysand, they decide, let's try to have a baby. And I thought that was interesting. So at first I was like, really? Right now? Like they just...
Baby boomers.
Like they just got together. But also they're all worried about like, oh, this peace may not last and this may be coming. I'm like, so that just sounds like a great time to add a baby into the mix.
And I think they also are factoring in though, like Faye, it's so rare for them.
Yes. And so that's what I had to take into account. So my initial reaction was like, bring a baby into this mess. But then they say it could take, centuries sometimes. Like it's very hard for a Faye to become pregnant. And I was like, okay, well, maybe they're thinking they have a lot of time and may as well start now. But a part of me was just like, I don't know if this is a good time.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. Missed opportunities. I think we already said it.
Yeah, I think would I say that this is completely unnecessary? No. Do you have to read this?
No. But I think if you really enjoy the series, I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's just a peek into their world, and if you're kind of starved for a little more about them.
And I think your question about like, did it bridge it or could have been a bonus epilogue instead is exactly what me as a reader, I could have been just fine with. I could have opened Silver Flames, give me a super extended epilogue or just something, and I would have been totally fine and like moved on with it. Like, I don't know, but that's just, I don't know, that's me.
Yeah, I don't think it was absolutely necessary, but I wouldn't say that it was unnecessary. It could have been shortened to put at the end of the other book.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I still enjoyed it. It was still an opportunity to kind of keep the world going and peek into them a little bit more. I liked that we were getting the point of views from other characters besides Feyre. So that was nice. But at the same time, because she did that, it made me want more. So I would have preferred had this been just like a full book that went into more things like Asriel. Or even what the hell was going on with Mort. That would have been nice. But I don't know. I guess I would say if you are a fan of the series and you really, truly enjoy these characters, read it.
If you're like me and you had a weird gap and it was a short way to get into it before reading Silver Flames, which is
sometimes that can be overwhelming.
Yeah, which was so hefty. I remember like reading it on the trip and just being done with it and being like, okay. And then like picked up my next book, which wasn't Silver Flames. I like came back and was like, all right, I'm going to do it. But then quotes and scenes, I don't think... This book is not quotable to me like the other ones were.
No, I don't think so.
The only scene I think that really stands out in my memory, especially... What?
We didn't talk about Tamlin.
Oh, that's right. Well, he'll be our next bullet point.
Okay.
The only scene, especially for me, having been 8 months probably removed from this book, is the throwing the... Cassian and Nesta throwing in the Sidra, like all of that. Yeah. That's the one standout scene from this. If you were gonna like ask me on the street to tell me one thing that happened in this book, that's what's gonna come to my mind first.
Yeah, because it was at that point that I wondered, did she just fuck this all up?
Yeah,
he's never gonna recover from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we forgot to mention that they do give you a little update, on Tam.
It's like when you like are watching a show and like they're just... I picture... Okay, bear with me. I picture a nature show.
Oh, God.
And you're like following a lion or whatever,
okay.
And this gazelle like barely makes it out, and then they're like, and let's go look at the gazelle. Like, let's take a look into Tamlin's world. And he's like, get out.
Tamlin is not having a good time. No, he's not. He is frazzled beyond repair, I think. I just picture him like totally grown out hair. Feel like he's probably wearing rags that are like, he's shredded them with his nails. He has nobody living at the manor. I also picture it being like overgrown.
Exactly. It's already like run down and like
like how? I don't know. It hasn't been that long.
I agree. It's that house on the street where you're just like, can they tear that down now? Like
that's where Tamlin lives.
Literally.
And there's another standout scene. I think it's when Rhysand goes to visit him.
Yeah.
And, Rhysand hates him. But I think he does have this moment of like, damn, even I feel kind of bad for you.
You need Tamlin, you need to buck up. See, everyone needs a therapist.
Yeah. And he even like brings like a fresh kill of something. And he's like, you are not eating. Yeah. You're like, what are you doing? You are a shell of a man. And I think Tamlin had kind of mentioned something about, feeling bad or like she hates me or, do you think she'll ever forgive me? And he's like, and Rhysand's just like, I'm not the one to say that. Like, but,
Tamlin, I'm sorry, but like.
Yeah, like you done fucked up.
She was not your mate.
Yeah.
You've got to move on.
Yeah.
Your mate's probably Amarantha. I don't know. There's so many theories, but like you've got to move on.
Yeah. He's bad, but Rhysand has this feeling, or at least the way they wrote about it in the book, that he is going to be important later. So I think he kind of feels like as much as he would love to kind of kill him and be done with it, he's thinking this guy needs to be kept or saved or somehow.
Yeah.
Because he may become useful. But it was just very interesting to see him. He's just like this shell of a man, and like even Lucien, like no one is with him.
Yeah.
No one. He has nothing. And so I'm curious to see how that pans out. I don't completely feel bad for him, but the way they describe him in this book, where I'm like, oh, well, you don't have to be that bad, makes me feel a little bad for him. So that stood out to me. That and the thing with Cassian and Nesta. If someone skips this book, I don't think they're going to miss anything essential. I probably wouldn't read it.
You can't read it
in order. Like if you got to Silver Flames, there's no point in going to this.
Yeah. Throne of Glass, her other series, there's a huge debate on where you put that book that contains all the novellas and whatnot, and what like order you put it in. But this one is very clear. Like it has a spot. It is 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like if you miss it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go backwards to it because that would be weird.
No, absolutely not.
But it was kind of fun. I think maybe even though we're saying it's not super integral to the story, at this point, if we have no idea when the next book is coming out, I wouldn't mind another novella to kind of like give me something. But,
maybe on Azrael.
But maybe make it a little more useful and not just like a peekaboo. Like a little teaser, that would be fine, but not a peekaboo.
And
peekaboo. I've decided.
And I have no idea like the publishing times between ACOWAR and Silver Flames, and if it was clearly it's not a publishing piece because it's been so long between Silver Flames and whatever's supposed to come out now. But that's the only thing I can think of where they just like, hey, you have writer's block, put something together. But Sarah J. Maas does not strike me as a woman who gets writer's block because her worlds are so intricate and everything's so planned. So I don't really know, but it's hard. I wouldn't say like go out and purchase this right now. Rating this is interesting because I think in the last pod I was talking about how like
you give everything 4 stars.
I'm either like a 5, a 4, or a 3. This one was a 3 for me. So like for me, this is probably on the lower end of my ratings. I'm
gonna be kinder, and I would give it a 3.5 stars because it's 3.5.
Okay. No. I was just like,
I go back and forth. I am wishy-washy when it comes to a lot of books.
Yeah.
I will say in one moment, meh, and then really care for it. But then I'll go, actually, you know what? I did enjoy this and I did enjoy that. So I'm probably the worst person in the world to review a book.
I think for me, it was, and I remember this vividly. My mother and I were in a hotel in Stockholm. We're not night people. Both of us were early birds. Mm-hmm. And like we would read at night. And I remember, so for me, when I read a book, a lot of times I have like, not like a hangover, like big book series, I will have a hangover, like a book hangover. But like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I finished that book. That was great. I don't go to the shelf and grab the next. I need like 24 hours. I don't know. Like I have that time period. And this one was literally like, we're in the hotel. She's reading her book. I'm reading this. I got to the end and I was like, Goodreads, read.
Next book.
And then I literally grabbed the next book. So for me, it was like, I didn't need to digest this. I didn't need the time to think about it. Yeah. I didn't want to run to my phone, and this is really bad, but like, especially for fantasy books, I finish a fantasy book or a series and I want to run to my phone and look at like, oh, now I understand all the memes and like all the TikToks. And this one was just like, okay, next.
Yeah. Because like I said, it was a peekaboo. There was nothing important about it. Yeah. There was no story really, which is interesting. But yeah, so, hey, Sarah, when's the next one coming?
Isn't that a great question that everyone wants answered?
I cannot remember a time where I waited for a book besides Harry Potter. Like, I don't like it.
Yeah, I will say.
It is fun, though, to having that anticipation.
But another thing is, and correct me, I don't know who I'm talking to out there in the world, but correct me if I'm wrong. Her one series, Crescent City, which is the one Sarah J. Maas I haven't read yet, is also incomplete.
Oh.
Throne of Glass is the only complete one. But I want to say last year, Crescent City had a book come out.
Okay.
I don't know if it was 24 or 23, but they are the most recent updated series, I believe.
Interesting.
So her focus has to be on this one. And I don't know how far they're taking Crescent City. I don't know how far she's taking this one. Because some authors do plan it out. Like there's this one author, she's like, she knows she's gonna have 6 books, like that type of thing. So I don't know what the plan is. I don't like deep dive and read it, but
I may have to deep dive and find out some of these questions and see if she's been interviewed before we do our thing about our theories and stuff. Because I have a lot of questions about her process and what her plans are, and
let me tell you,
she's never talked about it.
The one thing I know about her is Throne of Glass series, which is hefty. She started when she was a teenager.
Damn.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
I don't know when she actually started writing this one, but I believe Throne of Glass 17 or 18 when she started writing it.
Let me ask you something.
Do you think that has to do with why their characters are so young?
Well, that's probably why, because she was so young. That's why all her characters are little girls.
What?
Does Throne of Glass have the same kind of sex that these books have?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, then that would make sense. Because I was like, if she was writing that as a 17-year-old.
Throne of Glass.
My goodness.
Throne of Glass sex does not come in until book 8.
You've read all the Throne of Glass books?
Mm-hmm.
How many are there?
9.
Damn.
And like there's like relationship stuff early on, but no one's having.
Wow. That is a lot of books.
There's not.
I feel a little overwhelmed right now.
I know, and that's when you talk about wanting to do Throne of Glass, I like fully support you in that journey. And when I say journey, it is a journey.
It is a journey.
Throne of Glass is the one where I was reading the 2 books at the same time.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep. My mom and I did Throne of Glass. And it was... I'd have to look at my Goodreads. I don't know. Like some fantasy series, I'll read one, and then I'll read a mystery book in between, and then I'll go back to it. And I don't know if Throne of Glass, if I did that. Does 9 count Assassin's Blade, the prequel book? I honestly... I don't know. There's a lot.
Interesting. Well, I like the way I'm doing it right now where I read the fantasy and then I do a mystery. I kind of like going back and forth. I like also, what's the word I'm looking for, but like wringing it out a little bit so that like, because I do get attached and I do enjoy, and then I want to hear more about these people. So while 8 or 9 books sounds kind of overwhelming at first, it is kind of nice too. But it's like, oh, I'll have them for a long time, providing I like them. But I think I will. We'll see.
Counting 8 with the Assassin's Blade. I don't friggin' know. It's upstairs.
We're not.
Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows. And this is where does it go? Tower of Dawn, Empire Storms, Kingdom of Ash, and then you've got the prequel thing? Why did I think it was 9? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to look it up on my phone once we stop recording, because this is going to irk me.
Yeah, it is. And then maybe we'll talk about it another time and have actual, correct information.
Yeah, so what's next? Housemaid?
Yes.
Housemaid?
Housemaid is next, and we go to Long Island.
Frida?
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about this with you, because I saw your Goodreads. I saw your Goodreads rating, and I was like, oh, okie dokie.
Yeah. I got opinions.
Oh, okie dokie.
I would read another one of her books, but I got opinions on this one, and we'll talk about it next time.
Oh boy.
Everyone's gonna hate me because I know she's super popular.
And it's coming out as a movie.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
But I will go see that movie. And then we'll talk about it. But yeah, so Housemaid is next, and then Silver Flames.
Silver Flames.
And I forgot what we said. We're going to be after Silver Flames. I don't know if we're going to do our theories, or we're going to go to. We did talk about Verity.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll let you know. I guess.
Yeah.
All 3 of you. So, well, thank you for stopping by and listening, and hopefully you can continue to listen. Yeah. Check us out on Instagram. Check Kira's awesome videos on TikTok.
They're questionable.
No, she's really good at it. She just needs to make more.
Okay.
And then you can always email us. Please rate, subscribe, all the stupid things. And let us know you're listening. And if you have a recommendation, please give us one and tell us what you think about these stories.